Okay, thank you, Jody. Welcome, everyone, to the Monday, June 2nd, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for the Village of Lansing. I'm calling the over at 7 p.m. Proceed with the roll call. Susan Ainsley.
Present.
Pat Gillespie. Here. Carolyn Greenwald.
Here.
Kathleen Yen.
Here.
Bonnie Hardaway is here, so all are present. The next order of business is public comment period. This is the period of the meeting or time of the meeting when anyone who is in the chambers or online who would like to speak on a topic that is not already on our agenda is they're free to speak. So is there anyone in the room who would like to speak?
Yes, Jim McCauley, Planning Board Liaison for tonight.
Hi, Jim. Thank you.
Hello.
Hearing no others, seeing no others, I will move that we close the public comment period.
Second.
Susan seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I want to announce at this time that we will have a brief executive session at the end of this meeting. So we will do that at the very end. So we have time. So I am taking Jody's advice. I'm going to move the appointment of Jonathan Jeske as the planning board alternate up to the next topic. So Jonathan, why don't you stand up and give us a real brief introduction?
Sure. Be the first one. Good evening, everybody. So yeah, as he said, my name is Jonathan Jeske. I've been a resident of Ithaca for a little over a year, and we've been, my family and I have two small boys, 5 and 7, and we've been visiting Ithaca for about 2 years on top of that before we decided to change to live here. So I live up on Cayuga Heights Road and really love this small, quiet, quaint place full of social responsibility and really just caring consideration. Really thrives and shows every which way you go through Ithaca, and it really matches with what my family wanted to come and be part of. So yeah, my background is a mechanical engineer, both my bachelor's and master's. I have about 15 years of big ticket experience in integration and test. I have worked, so that means I've gotten my hands like pretty dirty, but also have worked with a lot of interdisciplinary groups, lots of different skills, lots of different hats, and also led groups like that as well. So no stranger to the documentation life that is apparent in local government, as the planning board was so aptly pointing out during my hearing. Yeah.
So thank you. Are there any questions from the trustees for Jonathan?
Where did you move from?
Florida.
Florida, oh. So, yeah. Are you happy with the move?
We are, yes. Even with the harsh winter that we got this past year, everybody was talking about how, I guess, mild it's been the last couple of them, and then this one came back and we had more of a real one. My boys loved it. They went out sledding for the first time. I'm no stranger to snow myself, so.
Where did you grow up?
All over the place, anywhere from Ontario all the way down to Florida.
Wow. Yeah.
Are you north or south of Route 13?
North. Yeah, almost all the way up to where it meets
34?
Yeah.
Any other?
And what attracted you to the planning board? Why did you decide to apply?
Yeah. It is an opportunity for me to become more integrated with the village and with Ithaca as a whole. It gets me introduced to people that live here, you know, you find folks, and gives me the opportunity to give back as well as being a part of it. So getting involved is the best way to have a voice in it.
Any other questions? I have a question that I hope it doesn't put you on the spot. do you have any kind of a vision for where you would like to see the village to go in the next few years?
I think my biggest one is the walkability, which I believe is a big point of yours. Having small kids trying to ride bicycles on Cayuga Heights is not particularly safe, honestly. So we find ourselves packing the bikes up and going to trails and stuff. But I see a future in which it's more possible to have not just bicycles and walking around on places like Cayuga Heights, which is a little bit further out there, but also being more integrated in the village ecosystem here, like really close to, I don't know what you guys call the commerce section by Target and such, but making it just more appealing for people to come out and spend a whole day walking around, right?
All right.
Give him the right answer.
Yeah, that's been a goal of ours for quite some time, and we've made progress in lots of ways, but there's still things to be done. So we look forward to your input and any kind of ideas you have, not just within the planning board, but if you like something that you would like to see the trustees focus on, feel free to always contact us and let us know, here's an idea I have, and we'll stick it in the discussions and see where it falls. So I appreciate it.
Good policy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is a fun village to work with. It's a good place. So it's almost like a little island within the chaos that's going on around us. So welcome, and thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't welcome him till after we vote.
Giving it away.
He's welcome even if he's voted.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, I will move that we appoint Jonathan Jeske as our alternate member of the planning board.
I'll second.
Carolyn seconds.
I guess we all seconded.
So any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Truly welcome now. Now the work begins. There's a stack of paperwork.
It's the alternate, I have to work through it first.
Yeah. Hear that, and then you're good to go. Thanks, Jonathan. And you're welcome to leave if you need to, but you're welcome to stay for the meeting.
That's my mistake, so.
Good.
Also, I'll need you to come in and fill out paperwork.
Okay.
Okay, our next order of business is to approve our minutes from May 15th and 19th of 2025. I believe that we all were in attendance for both of those meetings, so we can approve them in tandem. So I will move that we
Wait a
approve.
second.
Jody has a.
I have everyone's corrections, thank you.
All right.
Also, I wanted to let you know that in addition to those corrections, the May 15th minutes were adjusted to change the total of the general abstract by a difference of $11.11, because there was a change in the auto out for our Guardian and Sun Life. So I made those changes and had a new abstract printed out and the mayor to sign it. So that's all I want to say.
That's good. Thank you, Jody. So I move that we approve the minutes. Thank you, Susan. Susan seconded. Are there any discussion about either sets of minutes? Was it Pat?
Pat was first.
Was he?
Okay, I'm giving it to
Oh, for two, Susan, I don't know. Listen, you're.
I've given up.
Okay.
Moving the meeting.
allergies are slowing you down.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I wanted to give everyone a chance to participate. Got to get it done, huh, Jody?
Thank you, Pat. Okay. Any other discussion about the minutes? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, good. Those are approved. So it is now 7:39. Our next order of business is to open a public hearing for proposed local law D 2025, amendment of the Village of Lansing Code, Chapter 145, zoning law, Section 27, tree conservation and planting, Section 3, terms defined, and zoning, Appendix H. I will move the public hearing to be opened. Second?
Second.
Susan seconds. So is there anyone in chambers or online who would like to speak to this topic? This local law D for the tree conservation and planting? Hearing none and seeing none, I will move that we close the public hearing for proposed local law D.
I'll second.
Carolyn seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next thing we will need to do is pass the resolution. Okay, the resolution is not here, so basically we have to pass a resolution making local law D formal law within our code. So I will move that resolution.
We're adopting local law D as local law 1.
Number one.
All right, excuse me. A, B, C. 4.
4, okay, so that means the next one will be, I'll make a note here. Okay, this will be proposed local law number 4 for 2025, amendment of the Village of Lansing Code, Chapter 145, zoning law, Section 27, tree conservation and planting, Section 3, terms defined, and zoning appendix H. I will move it.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion about the resolution? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Carolyn?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you. All right, the next item of business is a public hearing for proposed local law E, 2025, amendment of the Village of Lansing Code, Chapter 78, flood damage prevention law to meet the standards of Section 60.3 of the National Flood Insurance Program. I will move this.
Second.
Susan seconds. All those in favor, say aye. Okay. Is there anyone in chambers or online who would like to speak about this proposed local law E? Hearing none and seeing none, I will move that we close the public hearing for proposed local law E.
Second.
Susan seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next item of business then is to pass a resolution adopting proposed local law E as proposed local law number 5, 2025, amendment to the Village of Lansing Code to revise Chapter 78, flood damage prevention law to meet the standards of Section 60.3 of the National Flood Insurance Program. I will move that resolution.
Second.
Kathleen seconds. Is there any discussion about this resolution? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, everyone. I wanted to, in particular, before we go ahead, thank the planning board, Mike Scott and Natalie French, for their work on the tree conservation and planting law. It was a lot of work, and so I appreciate it. Also, I want to thank Natalie and Mike Scott for working on our proposed local law 5 for the flood damage prevention law. Thanks, I appreciate it, Natalie. Okay. Our next topic tonight is to discuss the planned development area for 20 Bomax, and we all have the printed plans to be discussed.
Judy, do you mind sending Jamie a link to the Zoom? Because I think the old one doesn't work, so he's trying to crawl into. I just sent you an email, so you have his address on there. I assume that it's always the same link. It's not.
No, it's not.
It changes for each meeting.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't on the agenda, so we kind of made an assumption. So, sorry, he's in there trying to get in.
Should we share with Jonathan?
Yeah, Jonathan, you can have my copy.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so,
We
Can
can
you
wait,
hold on until we get this done, because I've taken this.
yeah, just, and
You're
we'll
gonna have to wait
let
just a
Jamie
second.
join, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll let Jamie in.
Now my email is not.
Oh, no. Natalie, did Mike Scott write us a letter on this project? No? I don't think so. Okay. I thought I knew something from Mike.
did you send that link out on any emails, Jody?
Nice.
Of everything?
Earlier today.
Okay. See that I can.
You know what his address is?
Let's see.
'Cause I didn't get your email.
Oh, you didn't get my email? All right.
Yeah.
And I have the old ones too.
Yeah, this was what I was looking for. Can you just keep this out for us? Thank you.
I also have, printed. What's this?
Oh, the PDA? No, well, yeah, I have those, I brought that,
Oh, you got it.
that I brought,
Same thing.
the code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought the code book
October
intentionally.
2022.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other thing is,
This is one of those queries that I haven't seen.
oh, what that is?
No, I haven't seen anything written.
Yeah, we're not up to that yet,
Yeah.
because we're not up to that yet. That'll come next.
Right now. The current. That's what
Isn't the
that's
intake.
what I thought.
Take, that's 25%.
Okay.
Zero. Currently.
So I was just going through this and just checking. Comparing.
All right, great. All right, thank you. All right, well, I guess we can start while he is logging in.
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so during the last meeting, there seems to be an interest on the village's part to include a mixed-use development in this discussion. So we looked at it seriously, and we originally were thinking that maybe the ground level of parcel A, which is the Transact building, would have some kind of mixed-use development, but in consultation with the owners, with the clients, they made a pretty, I think, reasonable argument that commercial development is much better on the commercial street as opposed to kind of further in. So, and that's basically the proposal, right? So the proposal is that phase one includes the development in the parcel A, which is the Transact building, as we previously discussed, but also includes this bar of the building along the Warren Road, which you see on the first page, where the idea is that it's 15,000 square feet of commercial space on the ground level, And roughly the breakdown is something like 8,000 square foot daycare, 5,000 square foot small commercial, small grocery store, and a 2,000 square foot cafe. And we actually had a kind of brief conversation with Green Star to gauge the interest in the grocery store, and they're in principle interested, but they said we can't really commit to anything for the next couple of years. And I said, we're not there yet, so don't rush it. Anyway, so that's the idea, that there is this, like I said, a bar along Warren Road, and that's shown here in red, purely for schematic reasons, so it's not necessarily going to be red, don't take it literally. And the idea is that on top of that, there are 2 levels of residential units. So, and that constitutes phase 1 of the development that we've been talking about, with the idea that once phase 1 is complete, and once all the meters have been set, and once all the kind of data about sewer flow, input, output has been received, and once there's a kind of a sense of kind of what the market can absorb, phase 2 would include these kind of 3 ghosted volumes, which are essentially 3-level residential buildings. So, and that's basically what we're showing in the next 5 pages. I mean, there's a kind of upper level, there's a plan view essentially, and there's sort of views from different directions, all showing the same idea that there is Transact building developed as we've discussed, and this kind of additional mixed use bar along Warren Road. So that's basically the gist of it.
Are there questions?
Well, there's aspects of this that I really, really could get behind. Specifically, I'm very interested in mixed-use development, and I'm very interested in repurposing existing structures. But there's aspects of this project that are also very problematic when you look at the code, when you look at what a PDA is supposed to do. And some of the things that it's not doing are, for example, something that creates a space where there's more open space that wouldn't otherwise be created. Because when you look at this property, when you have parcel A and parcel B, it's extremely full. It's not really creating that like a cluster that would then allow for more green and recreation areas. It's just a cluster that would then allow for more development. And that to me is troubling, because it's not what the PDA is designed to do. And, I guess my question is, because Ronnie asked if there are any questions, my question is that if this project can go forward with a different kind of density number, because I just find the density numbers so out of line with the allowed use. It's more than 25% over, let's say, if we're making assumptions about HDR, because it's not, those exceptions don't even apply because it's B and T. So it's just so far out of line with that it's troubling to me. That's why I was looking to see if you had made any changes in this with regard to like the size of those studio apartments and maybe less apartments. And my question is further design development on the table, or is it, this is what we have to do to make our numbers work, and we can't do anything else?
Oh, the design development, I imagine, would be on the table if there is a commitment from the village to go forward here, because, I mean, from what I understand from the client, they've committed to this project, and I don't remember how many years, because I've come along like when the thing was already in progress. So there's significant amount of time and resources spent on this thing, and it's still kind of up in the air. So they're sort of wondering whether it's worth pursuing at this point. And frankly, I mean, I'm trying to kind of talk them off the cliff on the one hand, but on the other hand, I can't, blame them either, right? So they're, we can, it's always, I mean, basically, let's put it this way. There's always, like, the developers want more units, the villages want more, I guess, less density. Like somewhere, I imagine somewhere there is, a happy medium in there, but I don't know if these guys are willing to, I mean, we've spent considerable time kind of developing these floor plans, and obviously we'll develop them further if this thing goes any further, because they just, this is not buildable just as of yet, right? As you know, it's like many sort of layers of development. In terms of green area, well, I mean, the footprint of the Transact building is it. This is kind of doesn't spill beyond that, so this is kind of, it is what it is. The green area to the south, that hasn't changed, right? So the south end of this thing, which is right here, that zone. Right, so that's still kind of for there. I mean, this thing, like I said, this is a very much hypothetical, only really subject to market absorption, I mean, all sorts of things, right? So this is not by any means written in sort of stone here. Well, nothing is obviously, but so in a way, this and this is what's sort of on the table. I mean, this thing could be smaller, bigger, not there, I don't know. This is like way too far into the future to even look at.
So,
Sorry, Kathleen. When you say about proceeding with a commitment from the village, I just want to be clear on the PDA timeline and route, in that at every step of the way, the village has the opportunity to say they're no longer interested in the PDA. So here does not mean continued approval along the lines. There'll be multiple public hearings, in which case the Board of Trustees could decide they're no longer interested in pursuing the PDA. So any sort of decision made at this board to move forward does not bind the board moving forward or the planning board moving forward. So the commitment is just step by step at this point.
Well, sure, I mean.
I just want to make.
No, that's understandable, but at the same time, we've been sort of here a few times, as you know. We've even at some point sort of moved past here, but then this parcel B was acquired, so we're back here. So, that's, if you try to kind of step into the developer's shoes too, I think they need some kind of sense of the village's interest in this.
Well, I told you the two things I'm very interested in, which is mixed use and reuse of buildings. And I remain very interested in those two things, but there's aspects,
Right, well, I mean, the density is this is where, again, I think we need to kind of have a conversation with the developers, because, I mean, unit count is what makes this project happen. I mean, I don't really know what the bottom line is necessarily. Maybe there is some way to go sort of further down, maybe not. That's not really kind of in my job description.
You wanted to say something, Kathleen?
yeah, I was just going to say, we've seen 3 plans in a very short period of time, so, and to echo the concerns, I'm not going to repeat it, but density was one of them. Also, a balance of preserving green space as part of the PDA that, and community benefit articulated. Workforce housing had been something, so that the people working in these commercial spaces would actually have the types of housing that would be affordable at a living wage level for those positions. And I'm not sure what tools there are within a PDA that would allow for negotiations along those lines. I like the fact that, I like the reuse concept. And are there sufficient number of, what's the total number of units now? So let's see, 2, 3, 4.
No.
I just added it.
In this, like, so 256 here, and
56, 144, which would be 40 in
144
phase
is
2.
phase 2. So 256 here and 40 here, so 296.
And if phase 2 were to move forward, you would need more parking in between these buildings. So these trees and green space would be gone as well.
Yeah, there would be some parking in there, obviously, yes.
So is it feasible to move the daycare building that would be part of Phase 2, Parcel B, Phase 2, back from the road, where you're preserving more green space and community space. So just articulating in more detail the community benefits
Well, that was actually our original.
because of the environmental impact in that area with the wetlands and everything else. And right now, there's a lush border all the way around, such that some people have said, oh, I didn't even know that was there. And it also, for every tree you remove, there is the impact on the adjacent properties for stormwater runoff, et cetera.
Yeah, no, obviously, so, I mean, it's like, I wish Jamie, he's here.
Oh,
Jamie,
there is somebody on the iPhone.
He's on mute.
Oh,
You're on mute.
Hello?
You're not anymore.
Yes. Yep, no, I'm here. I apologize. I had the old meeting number on. Yeah,
Much nicer.
from the from the stormwater point of view, we will need to mitigate based on whatever the final development is. And it comes back down to, stormwater quantity and quality. So the quality improvements you get with wooded areas, we have to replicate that in our final plan. But, those are technical details that we can resolve pretty easily.
As far as.
Now,
Go ahead.
go ahead, sorry.
No, I mean,
I just wanted to make one comment about the mixed use building. I think you would rather that as your buffer for your internal green space and parking areas from the major road, just so it gives you more of a streetscape from the road, but it keeps your green space interior to the residential area.
Right.
That's another reason why I would recommend the building closer to the road versus the other way around.
and the childcare center?
Well, childcare center, we actually looked at it being on the bottom of parcel A. The clients were concerned with this idea that you kind of want to leave that area essentially residential and sort of quieter, and because, I mean, I know with you, but, dropping off children and picking them up, that's quite a hassle, right? A lot of cars coming in, a lot of cars coming out, that's quite a, twice a day, it's sort of a lot of activity. So it does make sense more on the road. As far as children, I mean, like, we haven't really designed anything in terms of this is just a block. It could, the childcare could be facing inward as opposed to outward.
And also keep in mind, we'll need some sort of, whatever the age level childcare is, we'll have to have an age appropriate playground and play area for that as well.
And green space, shade, et
Oh,
cetera.
yeah, oh, definitely.
That's another aspect of the project that's very appealing,
Yeah.
putting in a childcare
I
center.
mean, it's
Well,
desperate.
that's one of the things I mentioned to the clients is, I run a business that has a number of my employees who cannot find childcare, and I've worked on a number of childcare projects, and like there's a lot out there that have not been done based on one thing or another, and there is actually now a map that shows childcare deserts in our southern tier region. Your area is moderate, but there's other areas that are much tougher. But I don't think you would. I think if you have a daycare there, it would be full within minutes. I don't think that would be a hard problem to fill. The bigger problem is finding an operator to operate the childcare.
I think that if this is the proposal, like this is the details going forward, the non-developed Phase 2 Parcel B is not fleshed out enough to be able to seriously consider, because like Natalie is saying, there's no parking associated with it now, so what are these green spaces gonna look like when you have to put in the required amount of parking per units? There could theoretically be nothing left, in which case, again, we're not meeting the PDA's requirements, which is objective B, which is more usable open space and recreation. So it's hard to even say at this point, because if you're asking for, what do you think about this whole thing, is we really don't have enough information on the ghost buildings, because they're not fleshed out.
Well, but again, the ghost buildings are in a way subject to, and basically on the information that's pending, like, you know.
So, but
Right?
I mean, at this point, I don't think we could approve a phase 2 based on this information here. It's far too skeleton at this point. So would they be willing to hypothetically proceed on just the phase 1 at this point with approvals, and we can revisit phase 2 as a separate?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is where I think it has to be, basically, I don't think anybody would want to go through the PDA twice. So the question is, can the PDA be written in such a way that talks about the possibility of phase 2, but puts in enough sort of constraints, regulations where you have, you know, obviously you will have to have an input.
But as it's drawn now, it's not meeting the PDA objectives, because the green space is going to be completely eradicated.
Well, does the PDA objective have as the required square footage?
I'm sorry?
A required,
Is there a required square footage in the PDA objective? I don't remember that.
Creating more usable and open recreation space.
and it does say it must achieve
Yeah.
in section 2.
Right, and there's no usable recreational space right now, so.
Right.
So what, you know, typically for like a PDA or PDZ, you're approving the concept as a whole, but you're only gonna approve, you know, you would preliminary approve a concept as a whole, but final approve phase 1, which would be realistically the redevelop piece to start. And then you work your way towards, you know, full details later on. But you would have some sort of guidance, like you would set X number of square feet of recreational space, lot coverage rates, and that kind of stuff. That, I guess that would probably be the next step, is to come up with numbers that is agreeable. I guess is where I would recommend we approach.
Well, yeah, that would make sense. I mean, right now, there is no recreational space on either parcel A or parcel B. Right then.
Open space and recreation space, so there's open space.
And I think it was the second plan also had, you had spelled out some recreational.
Well, there's recreational space here in the south, and there's recreational space
Parcel A.
in the middle there.
Right.
Right, so, I mean.
So I know that also some of the breakdown, that like the number of studios, number 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, that has shifted also. So where does that stand now?
Hasn't shifted since the last time, we haven't touched that at all.
Oh, yeah, since the last one to this one, that hasn't changed,
We
okay.
haven't touched that at all, I mean, that's still where it is, and again, I mean, I think that's subject to sort of discussion, negotiation, which is, you know, as a kind of development exercise, we're trying to pack as many units as one can sort of imagine in there, obviously within sort of the constraints of the existing footprint, but also within, you know, like sort of quality of life, livability, and that kind of stuff, right? That's always that balance. So right now it's, what's it, 256? I mean, chances are probably may end up being smaller by the time we kind of figure out all the like wall thicknesses and stuff like that, but, you know, that comes much later, because, you know, there's like no way to figure everything out right now. But, I mean, I think Jamie's right, though, as far as parcel B is, I mean, those are parcel B phase 2, I mean, those are like 3 boxes, which are, you know, ghosted for a reason, because they're just kind of potential possibilities. We don't really know what those are yet, and again, I mean, we can remove them.
So that is negotiable to remove?
No, I mean, remove them all together, like in this sort of shape or form, with the idea that there will be something, but that something will have to be spelled out on the PDA relative to, you know, like any zoning, like coverage of, you know, impervious, green to non-green, that kind of stuff.
I think you're so far above the 25% greater than the density if this were HDR, that it's hard to even think about adding more buildings. I would really love to see this project come in, and you say, I propose that we go 25% above HDR, even though this is zone B and T. If we were to assume it was HDR and we went 25% above that, that would be a reasonable amount of density. You could argue that would be a reasonable amount of density for this parcel.
Well, that,
But you're arguing for 79% above HDR.
well, that, I can tell you right away that 25% above HDR is not feasible for this project, which is something that I think was discussed even before I came on board, right, with Tom and Ronnie. So, that's kind of, that's what, because, developing existing buildings is actually a fairly complicated thing. Because you have an existing footprint that you have to kind of somehow finagle your sort of way in there. It's a lot easier to knock this thing down, and probably ultimately cheaper, build something new. And
There's just a big gap between 25% and 79%.
no, look, I totally understand, and that's why it's a PDA, because it's not something that's been done before.
25% would be a PDA. That's why you'd give the PDA, you'd give the
25% over.
For HDR, which it isn't, right? So this.
Right, so it's really 25% of zero.
Contiguous too. So I think it's not unfair to say that we want it to blend in with the, be more desirable than would otherwise be allowed, and it would transition from the land properly. I don't know that a transition from HGR to 79% above HGR is an effective and orderly transition.
Well,
Immediately
they're,
against HGR, you're gonna go 79% above.
but the current zoning's industrial, right? The maximum development
and tech.
potential right now, based on the existing zoning, is much more dense.
No, it's zero.
Maybe,
There is no
what's
residential
the,
use allowed.
No, the current amount allowed
no,
zero.
but it could be developed as an industrial base then. That might be what they, when you're looking at it from a zoning piece, your existing zoning has a much more environmental impact than what we're proposing. And the developers wouldn't they want to do the most intensive piece then go back to the existing zoning? There's got to be some sort of give and take when you're actually reducing the environmental impact from the existing. I think the idea of the existing zoning should be the basis of all of our discussions.
But then you get zero units, so you really don't want that, because the amount of residential allowed in business and tech is zero.
Well,
You want to compare, it's in your best interest if we consider it akin to HDR.
well, no, like I said, if we consider it an HDR, then this project is dead and we'll go home. And maybe we should have done it 3 years ago. But again, we seem to be kind of going in circles here. If that's the village's resolution and desire, then this becomes whatever, storage unit.
TNT in the zone.
I'm looking at the chart.
But the HDR thing is, no, I'm trying.
Part of the
I'd like to,
that we cannot simply use the limitations, the guidelines for business and technology, because we are transforming this from that, through the PDA, into residential, beyond high-density residential. And the density is too high. It does not meet, it's not meeting the goals. The issues still remain on top of what we discussed. I don't see these measurements here, the heights of the building were too much. They were too high for residential. Because you were trying to say that, well, it's a business and technology height.
Right.
But we are transforming it from business and technology into residential. So the residential height restrictions should be at play so that it fits within the characteristics of the village.
Right, okay, well then, we can have a conversation about that. Like, for example, the proposed stuff on parcel B is all within 35 feet of your residential thing. Like I already think mentioned this, but I'm gonna mention this again. So the west end of parcel A is 35 feet within the residential thing because it's facing everything else is 45. If that is the village's desire, I think we can talk to the owners about removing that one story. That will reduce. Well, I'll tell you how many units they're gonna lose. That will reduce the total count by 61 units. So we would be at, so we're what, at 296 now? So we'll be at 335. Sorry, 235.
Moving 60.
Where are you getting that number from?
61 units from 256 units would leave 100.
I mean, I'm counting the 40 from
Oh, I see.
from here, but yeah, if you don't count the 40 from here, then you are at 195.
So the building height of the phase one in parcel B with the mixed use, is that height within the 30?
That's all 35, right? That's all within your residential.
So the only problem, the only issue for height-wise is on the phase one in parcel A,
But only the north, south, and east, because the west is already at 35.
So 3 of the 4 sides are.
3 of the 4 sides are too high. So I think that's one issue that could, if, like you say, could potentially be negotiated. So let's move on to my next topic. Sewer units.
Jamie?
The sewer units, going by our current model, we may not even have enough to do parcel, or phase one. We may not.
That's,
Well,
Jamie, is that what Brent said?
no, Brent did say that phase one would be possible, and that potentially phase two with modeling over time to watch what the actual usage is.
Was his phase one, this design in phase one, where you're adding an additional 40 units on top of the 256 units?
It was for the parcel A.
That was parcel A.
Parcel A only.
Well, but again, if you've just shaved off the one story, there you go.
Correct. So we're close. And it's of concern that while you are planning this, negotiating with us, there are going to be other developments that may move ahead and purchase sewer units before this project can claim them.
Yeah, no, we know that.
So there's a chance that we could get up to the final line and say, we have no more sewer units. That's a distinct possibility. And also a distinct possibility, long-term, that parcel B, the phase two, could not happen at all until something happens within the sewer systems between the town of Lansing, village of Lansing, and village of Cayuga Heights.
Right, yeah, that part's definitely understood.
It's understood, and we went over that with the clients as well.
Do they want to take that risk
Yeah, it's a significant risk.
as a developer?
Well, to redevelop phase A, parcel A, that's what you're gonna have to do. The parcel B would be your, I hope I'm not confusing this. I'm sorry, guys, I'm on the road. The undeveloped side, that would be greenfield developed, that comes second, and it would be basically based on a sewer analysis performed after it's fully developed, the original redevelopment site.
Right.
And I think that's what the sticking point for me,
Which?
what James just said.
That would be our client's risk, not the villages. That's it's like doing will serve letters. You never want to give up all control of your system to a project that might be 5 years out. We typically in our systems that we have issues like that, we give a will serve letter for a 1-year period, and it's clawed back if you don't use it, because we don't want a developer to tie up your utilities as a whole.
So phase 1, A and B, from the engineering discussions you've had with Brent, et cetera, that would be a go.
Phase 1, A.
And B.
A. Yeah, if we subtract 61 units from A and add those 40, you actually get more sewer units out of this one. Yeah.
Ronnie, would that in theory more like use up all the units we have?
Very close,
So then it limits or prohibits additional development within the village?
potentially, yes. On top of this, from my DPW superintendent, our DPW superintendent, we're not even sure we can provide water to this number of units, because the water supply, closest water supply to this is actually a tank or a system within the town of Lansing. And that would have to be negotiated with the town of Lansing for that water, and they might not be able to provide water to this development.
Jamie, is this new information, or did you know about this one?
New to me. When I talked to Bolton Point, they didn't seem to have an issue, but they're just the major supplier.
They are the supplier of water to the municipalities, but the municipalities control their own parts of the system that take the water from Bolton Point and distribute it to residents, businesses, buildings, developments, et cetera. And this is the first I've heard of it was today too. So that is an additional concern that we need to work around if we decide to go forward.
Okay, well, who should we talk to about that? Somebody?
I would start with Bolton Point, John Courtney, our DPW superintendent, and we'll probably have to get someone involved from the town of Lansing to negotiate where the water supply would come from, and if it's possible.
Well, Jamie already talked to Bolton Point, so I guess we'll talk to John next.
John, and we would need to contact someone from the town to find out, negotiate the logistics of the water supply.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I think the bigger issue is we got to figure out if this PDA is moving forward. I don't want to entail a lot of engineering on a project that, if we're not going to be doing it. So I guess first thing is we got to determine if we're going forward with the project as is, and then on condition that there's motorcycle, on condition that technically feasible from the sewer and the water side.
It depends on how your tolerance is for keeping to reworking things, but I would love to see you taking the code with you while you work on modifications and thinking about the things that are in the code with regard to either the B&T zoning or the HDR zoning, and think about, well, what are my required setbacks? What is my required lot coverage? What is my allowed density? And trying to adhere as closely as possible to things that are within the conceptual code offering. And then, because it's a PDA, there is a degree of flexibility, but it's not like we're gonna build something that's out of step with what's around it, which, by the way, is also another statement right in the PDA requirements, is that it can't be out of step with what's around it. So if you really take the code sections, looking at high-density residential, business and tech park, and then the PDA, and look at what it's looking to do, and meet those requirements as close as possible with the benefits of this project, it would be nice, but it has to be something that works within the parameters that are already set forth, that we can't completely skirt.
Well, the setback, which was presented, I don't even know how many times, last time definitely, because I have the right here, is based on your code already.
Perfect, so we got one. And the coverage, the lot coverage?
Well, the lot coverage is difficult because you have an existing situation here which fails under HDR.
Yeah, but if you had in the proposal, like, this is where we would be, this is where we are, you know, with density, with lot coverage, with everything of the zoning requirements, it would be a lot easier to say, we can see where this project has hits and some things that maybe need tweaks. It's a little amorphous right now.
Okay, so, I mean, like,
That'd be helpful for me, I'm just.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, somewhere in the text there's actually all this kind of lot coverage information too. It's
Also now including this new parcel B phase 1. All the text.
Well, no, all the text, I mean, again,
Still information now missing from the new building. I know we have it for parcel A phase 1. But we don't have all the information for parcel B phase 1.
Or for phase 2, which they also want.
Phase 2, just, I mean, that's so.
But we need a lot more information for that, so.
I guess the decision that the trustees need to make tonight, are we confident enough in the information that we do have to pass this over to the planning board and have them start working on the details?
because we're actually kind of talking about planning stuff here at this point.
Correct. But as Natalie said earlier, at any point, the planning board could say, we just can't see this working. They could come to us, they could recommend to us to reject the PDA, and we could go forward with that.
Yeah, no, that's always been understood.
We could also, tonight, say, we don't want to go forward with this.
Please do, because that will save a lot of.
I know it saves a lot of time.
A lot of time.
The thing that's difficult for us in the village is that we work very hard to get to a yes. But a PDA is, my analogy is trying to build a ship while you're sailing the ship. It's constantly changing and constantly moving, and if you do something wrong, ship sinks, the project drowns. So I leave it, the trustees need to speak up and say, how do you feel about this? How do you feel? Do you want to go forward with the planning board, or do you want to get more information later and come back and then send it to the planning board? What do you want to do?
I'm just looking at section 2, objective C2, the written explanation of the character, purpose, type, density, et cetera, water, sewage, financing, timetable, that would incorporate phase 1, parcel B. And then I would feel comfortable sending all that back to the planning board to see if you can hammer out details and an agreement with more green space and really articulating the community benefits. You know, the childcare is a benefit, reusing an existing footprint is a benefit. but there has to be negotiations there.
Well, yeah.
So that's just my thought.
That's understood. And, I mean, and that's why we didn't come here with like a more or less design building, because, I mean, I doubt the clients want to invest in sort of any more design effort on our part, which I understand them, because but also because this is basically an idea, right? An idea that gets shaped here in the planning board, ultimately, like by sort of different people through this kind of communal effort. And that's, I guess, what we're doing here, right? So, and that's why that's just a block right now. It's like a piece of clay. You can squish it, you can,
We've been
clearly
doing
not, you're not gonna raise it up, you probably squish it down.
We've been doing that,
I know. Yeah, we've been doing that.
but with the concerns of the water and the sewer. I mean, for me, if I'm sitting in a developer's shoes, a big question mark is if I'm not going to have water and I'm not going to have sewer.
Well, I mean, are you trying to scare developers away?
Well, I mean, that's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I understand. Well, but I mean, that's why we had in this very room conversation with Brent and Jamie and Ronnie and Mike Scott, and Brent said, we can do this, right? I mean, we were all here.
Brent may have said, however, to Carolyn's point, if it doesn't fit a PDA.
I don't have a favorite project that I want to get the sewer units. I like a lot about this project. I just wish that it fit more within the parameters that, to be honest, the planning board is also going to raise everything that concerns to me, concerns to them. So Ronnie, your question is, should we give it to the planning board to decide? What I'm saying to you is that 99% chance they're going to say everything that I just said to you themselves as a former member of the planning board.
I'm sure
This is gonna, and so it doesn't make a difference in the long run of the project, whether you address it for us or you address it for them, because either way, it's gonna have to be addressed before the PDA would ever be approved, so we gotta get closer to the code.
Yeah, no, look, I understand, I agree. The huge difference is that if you keep coming here with more and more stuff, at some point the developer is like asking, is this thing ever happening? Right, which,
It's a very long process.
it's a very long
It's
process, and I've been telling them it's a very long process.
Tenuous
If
process.
we go to the planning board, at least there is some kind of,
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, what do you think they're gonna say, Pat?
They're gonna say there's too many units.
I
When I
can't,
first met with you, I was on the planning board,
Right,
and when you first presented it to us, we said there were too many units then. We came back to the next set of prints, there were more units, not fewer. So we were not happy, we were not
yeah,
happy.
I remember that, but that was the whole different lot there.
It's still,
more.
there's more, no matter how you look at it, there's more units than what we wanted to see.
Well, again, to make this thing work, developer needs a unit count, basically. I'm sure you understand.
Well, I do.
Right, so, and that's basically the negotiation, that somewhere, I hope somewhere, we can agree. I mean, I'm somehow in the middle here.
I mean, parcel A phase 1 is twice as big as East Point.
Yes, good point.
And that's, and for our village, that's a very large property.
Yeah, no,
So you're looking at something twice as big.
I understand.
So just in terms of visualizing, because I live at East Point, there's a lot of, it's big.
Well, in terms of visualizing, it's the same footprint that what's already there, just 2 more stories up.
And we don't like that.
Okay.
So that's not happening. But, that's a lot of traffic, a lot of people, a lot of,
Well, traffic, Jamie, you there?
well, I mean,
Yep.
that's, besides, we don't need to discuss it.
No, but I mean, we've done a traffic study, and, like, what was it, like, almost no impact?
Oh, there's zero impact. It's a level of service of A.
It's a traffic study, it's not the day-to-day, how we live in an environment that trucks and moving trucks and, on and on and on and on, in and out and in and out, busy, busy.
And then add-on daycare would drop.
And then you got,
8:30 to 9.
And East Point's traffic study said there would be no impact on the neighborhood. I live in the next neighborhood down. There's been a huge impact on our traffic.
and I drive by your house, because it's my shortcut, rather than going 13.
Right.
And I mean, it's a reality of living there.
No, I mean, although driving that way as a shortcut is kind of its own
It's better.
form of entertainment, let's say. But anyway.
Beside the point.
Well, again, like, if you don't want this thing, I'm sure they will be happy to put a whole bunch of storage units on there, and that's over.
Now, I know for sure that that's certainly something that's needed. If you look, for instance, at East Point, anybody's garage, it's not a garage, it's a storage unit.
I would rather mixed-use housing than a storage unit personally, but it has to.
Why don't we just go back to the parcel A being the PDA, and then just keep the underlying zoning for the vacant parcel as is, and look at that down the road? Just not, punt that piece, since that's the problem piece.
I think it's still.
Well, but everybody wants the mixed use, that's the thing. It's not the problem.
I mean, you're doing it with a residential density. It's not gonna work as a mixed use with a residential density. I mean, the projects I've worked on that are mixed use, they're all much more dense than what we're proposing.
The density for the village, though, is typically much lighter rather than denser.
Right.
So the quality of development and its ability to fit in with the nearby residential areas, the density needs to be approximately. And with the PDA going above by 25% would probably work okay. But if we try to go as high as you're proposing here, I think it degrades that neighborhood, and it potentially degrades the village.
Oh, okay, that's, I guess, one way to look at it, but if you also, we've had this, I think, last time, right, this kind of figure ground thing. So that's Ward Warner here, this is whatever the one that's actually in the village, this is one, so this all is an industrial corridor, right, and there's Bomax right there. So, I mean, yes, because the East Point is right here, which actually is fairly big if you look at them like this. And then all the sort of small stuff, all the kind of individual houses are further out. So, I mean, yes, I understand there's a character to this thing, but there's also kind of an industrial character right into this zone, which is fairly large footprints. And that's why we're trying to save this building, but it sounds like you just want to bulldoze the thing, call it a day. So, okay, so where are we going?
I will propose to the trustees that we determine. Kathleen, do you want to go to planning board, or do you want to see another?
I'd rather it go to the planning board to see what could be worked out within the parameters of the PDA and what conditions and what special conditions and other conditions could be agreed on.
Okay.
And then we would have a written evaluation, detailed explanation with the environmental impact pro or con recommendation that would be in writing from them.
Thank you.
That would be you'd have all of the data there written with an evaluation.
It's a tough question, because on the sake of government efficiency, if they're going to present this plan to the planning board, it doesn't make sense, because then they're going to have to just get caught up to speed as to where we are right now. And they're going to have the same feelings that we have. But if you feel like you can go to the planning board and they will come back with, you will propose to them, not this, but something closer to what it needs to be ultimately, then, and you need this small step to get the owners to mitigate some of the problems, then I would say yes to the planning board, but it sounds like from what you're saying is that that's not an option, that they're not gonna decrease the density, and if they're not gonna decrease the density, then it doesn't make any sense to give it to the planning board. So if you tell me, could the density come down to a number that's close to 25, and then I'll say, yes, let's let the planning board take a look. Because I like mixed use, I love reusing existing structures. It meets a lot of my goals for the village's improvement. So you tell me, if the density will drop, yes, let's go to the planning board. But if it's not, it's just wasting everyone's time, including yours, by the way, which.
Yeah, no joke. Like, how many years has it been? Well, I mean, if that's, like, if you're basically saying 25% is where it's in, if we show up with 30%, is that?
I think that would be fine.
Is 50%, like, where's
A
it?
lot better, they could talk to you, they could talk to you at 30% for sure, yeah.
That's the negotiation. that
I mean, you have to
figure it out.
negotiate, but right now you're at 79%.
Well, look, I mean, we just also, you know, in our conversation, potentially shaved off the floor of the building. You need to present it to the owners so that, you know, and they could just say, forget it. Right, so it's negotiation both ways.
They have a voice in
I
this.
guess I would
That's true.
say yes with the caveat that what you present to them is going to be a much less dense proposal. If not, then I would say, please don't bring it to them, because you're going to be wasting funds.
Well, again, much less, this is where we're kind of getting into this gray area, what's much less.
Well, you just proposed 30, which I was like, awesome, go for it.
Well, I mean, I just threw a number out. I mean, I'm pretty sure 30 is not going to go anywhere. We just, like I said, we just took off the whole floor. I mean,
But
that's,
we're negotiating rather than really,
Well, I don't want to
But
waste their
it's not-
time.
I agree.
It's a lot of
I agree.
everyone's time.
well, we're negotiating something.
So pass on me and ask Pat and Susan
And I think
opinions.
voiced his opinion. having-
Well, just on Ronnie's
let's hear-
proposal, do you want to send it to the planning board?
I don't think it's ready to go to the planning board yet. I think you need to make the adjustments that we've suggested. Take it to the developer, and then they're okay with reducing the number of units and getting closer to the 25% number, then I think you can take it to the planning board.
Because then water and sewer follow suit.
Right.
And because I've attended via Zoom and all of that, all the planning board meetings, you know, and I've appreciated the time and energy and effort that has gone into getting us here today, now, but, so that's,
well, I gotta
Not
say,
ready.
if I may,
Ready.
the density thing has been on the table since day one that they showed up here, right? And now, and I mean, it's always been like, oh, it's too many units, oh, I live, you're right, I get it. But the 25%, that's been a sort of fairly recent thing, and, I mean, that's basically, that's kind of killing this whole thing.
well, I
No,
know
we
It would
missed
be
it
a
last summer.
worthwhile exercise, and obviously, I'm not a board member, and feel free to disagree, for the developers to come back with the lowest unit they feel would be profitable for them. And then give us the number, and we can decide if that's reasonable or not. Because if it's gonna come down to a density situation, I agree with Carolyn, that I think it would be just spinning the wheels and wasting everybody's time if we can't get to a density that the Board of Trustees is comfortable with.
Well, but what is that density?
I think they need to hear a number and see what they think. Honestly, I mean, it's the developer's dollar and cents, what makes sense for them. They're gonna say no at some point, we're gonna say no at some point. What point is that? The developer doesn't know, the board doesn't know at this time.
Well, may I suggest then, for the sake of saving everyone's time, why don't you get, I can put you in touch directly with the developers, and you can do this back and forth number trade via email, because we don't need to be here.
Can't do it via email, it needs to be a public meeting.
so those are all the sticking points. We just can't amongst us say, 30% is super, because we're negotiating based on what?
Well,
It becomes an
based on what?
exercise in negotiation. We can be really good at negotiating, but what does that mean for the bottom line? And as Natalie said, this is a long process, 5 years? plus or minus? Yeah, well, let's see, it could be more.
Well, I mean,
So, I mean,
think that's true, Susan, I hope not.
if that's
Well,
the case, then I
don't think
can
it'll take
guarantee you
years.
that.
The wheels turn slowly, but,
but, you know, to go through the process to get.
well, yes.
Out.
Well, for build out potentially, but for
No,
approval.
And quite frankly, we had a PDA in our village that took 12 years.
and so I am not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating.
I don't foresee that happening, but it can go.
But we don't want it to. I mean, that's not good for anybody.
Yes, and I want to comment, your comment about the high density. The high density was on what we are looking at as Phase 1, Parcel A. We were looking at the density of that. At the time, the other lot, the other parcel was not involved.
Right.
There was going to be a lot of green space
Right.
separating that potentially dense building from.
Well, I mean,
So things have changed.
Yes.
So you can't.
Well, and I also think even at just phase one,
It
there was still
It was
concerns.
still high, and it was, yes, there was some concern about it being too high. But by adding the parcel and almost doubling the number of units, it raised
doubling.
this, well, close, from 250 so to 400.
Oh, well, that was right, that was 3 meetings ago at this point.
Right, so there was a concern early on about the density too. But the green space that would have separated the building might have been able to mitigate some of the concerns. But it was so early, and the drawings were, early drawings, and we knew that. So things have changed, but there's still the consideration for the total density for both parcels to be developed. So it's a concern.
Well, no, I agree, but again, last meeting, we came back and we said, let's just do parcel A, forget parcel B for the moment, let's leave it green. And the village said, oh, well, what about mixed-use development, right? And we said, okay, we can look into this thing, and then it sort of became apparent that for the success of mixed-use development, especially commercial land, you really want the building right here, as opposed to further in.
Right.
So, and that's why we're here.
Another selling point at our very first discussion was that the building you were looking at renovating and reusing was going to have mixed use within that building. And that was a good selling point also. So the mixed use and the residential were consolidated into just the parcel A, phase 1.
Okay, well, like I said, we can bring that back, because that was actually my original suggestion to the owners. Let's take out all the units on lower level on the south and on the east and make it mixed-use commercial. And that was a proposal, right? And they said, okay, cool, but it does actually make a lot more sense to put it on a commercial road. And that's, again, that's why we're here. So, but if that's what the village seems to be suggesting, we can put it back on the lower level. And like kind of remove parcel B
Just trying to get on.
from the PDA situation.
Someone's trying to get into Zoom.
I think,
Yeah, I'm actually at my office finally.
You're mute. Jamie, you're,
Yeah, I had to switch phone to laptop or desktop, so I didn't want to get feedback going. Sorry about that.
but were you gonna suggest something?
No, so kind of before I even got on board, right in the beginning, what was that final number that was being looked at from a redevelopment side of numbers? That's the number I was actually trying to find now that I got back to the office.
Which number? Number of units we're talking about?
Number of units.
256 in parcel A.
Before before we did anything with parcel B, that was the number?
Right, before, this is just A, there's no B.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would just say punt on parcel B then. Let that go back to being industrial or whatever the underlying zoning is, and focus on the one project that we have in front of us that's gonna take us 5 or 10 years to develop. I don't know, that's just my suggestion, just because I don't think anyone's gonna come up with a decision that's that far out. There's just too many variables out there.
I just want to be clear that even at 256, there were still concerns about density. Just removing the parcel B phase 1 doesn't solve the problem.
Well, yeah, but that,
Hearing from the board.
Right, but if you want to reuse that building, you're gonna have to have that density. Otherwise, you're not gonna get the number of units that can pay for the redevelopment of that building.
Well, that was somewhat my point in asking the developer, what is that number?
Right.
well, look, we can ask what that number is, but I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be 25%.
No.
I mean,
Further.
I'm actually very sure. But again, if you remove the units from the lower level and it becomes commercial, and if you shave off the third floor, you're like in the, like 170, 180 sort of unit count, which, if I remember correctly, the HDR with the 25% for this thing was something like 90 units. So, like, this is close enough.
I don't think so. I think the density is still a problem with just that, even with that one building. But that's my opinion. I mean,
No, I agree with you.
there are 5 trustees here. What I'm hearing is that we do not have enough votes to go toward the planning board. If you're willing to talk with the developer, get their maximum number of units they would need on the property, and come back and discuss that with us, we could go forward. My concern is that we're slicing off their ability to fund this project immediately. And in that case, my gut feel is that it's time to stop this, pull the chain and stop the project.
Well, again, let them decide on this, I guess. All right. Well, so I'll talk to them, we'll see what they say, and I guess we'll get back in touch with you.
Thank you.
All right. See you later, Jamie.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you both.
All right, take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Welcome. Thank you.
All good input. Moving on, our next topic is I had sent you the information regarding renaming the Marion Harthill Park. Jody contacted the family, and they came up with, they want us to name the park Donald and Marion Harthill Park. And I sent you the quote from the Vacker Signs, which is the company that made all of the other signs, and it's $1,200, including the freight to get it to us. So if it's all right, I need your permission, or we need to give permission to spend that money to order the sign.
Well, we need to actually rename the park. So we need a resolution to rename the park, right?
Yes.
And then purchase sign.
All right. Then I will move a resolution that we rename the park on Northwoods Drive, sorry, losing my voice, from Marion Harthill Park to Donald and Marion Harthill Park.
Well, second.
Thank you, Carolyn. All those in favor of renaming, say aye.
Hi.
Okay. So,
I think his celebration of life is gonna be July 30th at the country club, but once we have more details, I'll let you know for sure. but that's tentative right now.
So do we have the approval of the trustees to spend the $1,200, some $4 to order the new sign?
Absolutely.
We do that.
Do you need a motion?
Do we need a resolution or anything, Jody, since
I'm just gonna, I think the resolution is just to rename the park and purchase a new sign.
purchase a new sign?
Then, when it gets to be budget, if we have to do a budget transfer later on because there's not enough money in the fund, then we could do that.
Okay, thank you. So I will sign the quote and fax that over to them and tell them that we're looking at a public ceremony on July 30th, and is there any possible way to have that sign to us in time for the DPW crew to put the new sign up? We'll be using the same post, it's the same size, everything should work, it's just taking the old sign out, putting the new one in, making sure that it's secured in there. So I will do that tomorrow.
Good.
Thank you. Mayor's comments, I really don't have any comments for tonight. I can't think of anything that has to be covered, so we'll skip over me. Go around the table, Kathleen.
Went to the Town of Lansing Board meeting on the 21st, attended the Planning Board meeting on the 27th, and Comprehensive Plan and the CSC meeting on the 28th. I forwarded the Cuba Lake Watershed Intermunicipal packet to everyone, and the trainings that were, people could get credit for zoning appeals, and DPW and Mike, Scott, and the trustees, so everybody got that. Okay, and Jody. I did remember you. Planning board, where is it? They basically, so the special permit for the daycare change of use, that was approved. It was a very short meeting. They did discuss how to, the code changes. They're going to basically review sections in pairs, and that was pretty much the bulk of it. I see Mike is on the call, so if I'm leaving anything out. And, you know, they just mentioned the Bomax project would be on the agenda, and that you would be on the agenda to introduce yourself. And then they went into executive session.
Did everything?
Well, I could go through more, but no, that's not that. Oh, yeah, there was one thing. Lynn did send the national, a link with the upcoming weather.
National heating.
Yeah, and so I sent the Tompkins ready.gov link, and there's the national weather link that gives more detailed information. It's updated and on a regular basis, but I'm wondering if we can put it someplace on the website under the siren.
Well, we'll have to
Just a
figure out the
link.
best place for
Yeah.
it, but yeah, we can do that.
Just so people are aware,
Yeah, we can do that.
it's easy to access.
It's not hard to put it on the website, just make sure it's easy to find or search for.
And the Climate Smart Communities meeting. Basically, we're waiting on the certification. We'll know around June 6th, we should hear back.
Yeah.
So we'll know more then.
Okay. Carol?
Mike and I are meeting with Cornell to discuss the B&T Park potential changes Wednesday, so I'll have more for you at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's it.
Interesting discussion.
Yeah, hopefully we have some good ideas.
Susan?
I zoomed into the TCOG meeting, not as a participant, but whatever. I observed. next time I will zoom in participant, so I was there. But it was informative, and I was glad to be part of that group that figures out what's going on in our world up here.
What were they discussing at that meeting?
Reports from everybody, all the chairs of the
Right.
different boards.
Yeah.
So, and Ronnie was there, and I don't think there was anything of significance to report back.
No, they're in transition of determining where they're going to go on some topics. We meet every other month. A lot of the subcommittee groups are focused on things that need to be funded through the state, so they're trying to figure out how to best get money from the state. The group that I'm in subcommittee is for energy. The town of Ithaca is getting very close to having a community choice aggregation system.
The town of what?
Town of Ithaca.
Ithaca.
Did I say Lansing?
No, you didn't.
Okay,
But I
town of
thought that
Ithaca.
the town already had it.
No. There was some kind of a problem on the state level
yeah, the
with
server.
certifications of the CCA
Yeah.
managers.
Yeah.
So I think that's been resolved, and they are getting close. And once they get that kicked in, and it's all of the kinks have worked out, maybe we can look at.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can't let the town of Lansing have the TCA before we do.
I don't think that would happen. No, but there may be several municipalities that are waiting for that to happen, because that way they've vetted the manager for it, and they've worked out all the kinks about how you communicate to the residents and how the residents participate and get information and join and satisfaction. So we'll just kind of step back and let someone else be on the bleeding edge of that, then we will come in, and once they offer it. They were originally saying they're gonna offer it, but I think they pulled back on that.
I went to the original meetings, but they were like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's.
Took 5 years.
It's a bit of a difficult road.
That's a magic number, Carol.
Yeah. We should know something within this year, I think, that's going forward, so, anyway, yeah, TCOG's a hit and miss. Sometimes it's something that's not really appropriate for the village, but other times it is, but right now they're working on some different issues. But yeah. Anything else, Susan?
No. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't really have any updates or anything, but I just wanted to mention it to Ronnie before, and just get my calendar up here. I'm going to be out of town Wednesday, the 11th through the 25th, so I'll miss the next Thursday's meeting and then the next Monday meeting.
Okay, well, you'll come back and we will have, while I'm cheering you for so many
I'm
tasks.
sure you will.
You will never do that again.
Well, I'm doing it again in December, so.
I threatened everyone that.
We'll just cancel the meeting if you're not going to.
Thanks for letting us know.
Sure, I'll be on it.
Zoom in if you.
I won't be able to, actually. I'll probably be sleeping on the next Thursday's meeting, because time
It
change.
will just be the three of us, because Ronnie's not gonna be here, so we all have to come. Right.
Then 2 weeks from tonight, I'll
I always
be on my way to Dodger Stadium, so.
You won't be here either?
Cancel.
Oh.
Could cancel.
It's been known to happen.
Comes up.
Third, that, we would do.
Hope so too.
Could do skeleton crew, that'd be fun.
Anything else? Okay, so I guess we won't adjourn because we need to break for executive session, so I will move that we go into executive session to discuss a particular person. Susan seconds. All those in favor of going into executive session, say aye. Aye. Okay, and the time is 9:00.
See you later.
Bye, Mike.
Mike.
Jim.
Aye. See you later on.
You got to see that before the planning board.
Hopefully it won't look like that.